Call us on your cell phone.
Culinary Hotline Bling.
It's that time of the week again. It's a Wednesday and it's time for the Culinary Hotline Bling. Sing, sing, sing. Yeah, and today's hotline is all about baking and desserts. And who better to join us on our foodie panel than baker Angie Boyd, who is a self-proclaimed cake addict, may I say, and self-taught baker, as well as Lemise Abrams. And these lovely ladies are standing by to answer all of your burning foodie questions. If you have any, send them through to us on our Facebook page or over social media. Of course, use hashtag Expresso Show. We'll track those down, answer them for you so that you can become a better baker at the end of the day. Ladies, a very good morning.
Hi. Good morning.
Great to have you here. Great to have you. So let's start with the very basics. And it feels like we've answered the question before, but it's one that can't be over-answered, if that's even a word. But the difference when it comes to baking between cake flour, bread flour, self-raising flour, and all-purpose flour. Let's talk about that, shall we? Yeah.
Okay. Well, flour, it's just depending on the amount of protein that's in the flour as to what you use it for. So you get something called a hard flour and then a soft flour. And a hard flour just has more protein. So your white bread flour, brown bread flour, whole wheat flour has got more protein in it. In other words, more gluten. Okay. So it's more stretchy so that it works better for bread. So something like a bread.
Okay.
Whereas your soft flour, less protein, something like cake flour. All-purpose flour is cake flour in this country. Same thing. So what you'll find is when you're reading these international recipes, an American recipe or a British recipe, it'll say all-purpose flour. You're just going to use cake flour.
Yeah.
Because that's how it's labelled here in our shops.
Okay.
And then that is for cakes, biscuits, pastries, because there's less gluten in it.
Yeah. I just feel like they should have a standardized name for all flour in the world. Just stop confusing us. It looks the same in America, it looks the same here. Call it the same thing, please.
I agree with you.
We already have enough troubles with the
International
ounces and the pounces and the gramses.
Exactly.
We're trying to bake goods here. All right. Well, that's I think a clear enough explanation to everyone out there. But when it does come to baking, what are the basics that you certainly need to have in your pantry? Keep all of those around. What would you say, Louise?
What do you keep?
Well, definitely the basics would be you need to have cake flour. And just one more thing about the flour that we were talking about earlier. Like self-raising flour, the difference between cake flour and self-raising flour is that the self-raising flour already has the baking agent in it, so you won't need to add
Is
any
that the
more.
Yeast?
No, it's like
Or
a
the
baking
raising
powder.
agent, or
Yes,
baking
like
powder.
baking powder. So you don't need to add baking powder when you use self-raising flour. So it makes life easier. But for me, what I definitely need is always baking powder, cake flour, maizena. It's a thickener, like cornstarch.
Yes. Works great when you're making shortbread biscuits.
Yes,
Yes,
you're right.
it makes it light and fluffy.
Absolutely.
As well as vinegar, vanilla extract, or vanilla pod. Vanilla gives a great flavor to your
It's like
sauces.
the backdrop for everything, isn't it?
Exactly. It's a basic ingredient that you need to have in your pantry.
Anything you'd like to add to that?
I like to keep. So I am a baker. I bake all the time. So I always have in my. If I don't have eggs, butter, milk,
of
flour,
course.
obviously all the basics. with those ingredients, you can make anything you like. So sweet, savoury, batters, cakes, muffins, breads, whatever you want.
Okay.
And then my favourite utensil in the kitchen is this thing here.
Oh, yes.
Use it for everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
It helps you fold when you need to. It helps you to whisk when you need to.
Gets lumps out of sauces.
There we go. Especially when you're making that beautiful white sauce to make a cheese sauce. But we're baking. That's what we're talking about right now. Let's take a question quickly from Facebook that came through from Haydeen. Is it Milker, who says, what's the difference between baking powder and baking soda?
Well, baking soda is the main ingredient, so it's an actual ingredient, it's a salt derivative, and it is a raising agent, but it's a simple raising agent. So it needs an acid in order for it to activate. So let's just have a look here and see if it'll work.
So this is baking?
This is baking soda or bicarbonate of soda, same thing. And we're going to add a little bit of vinegar. Let's
I love these experiments.
Try not to make a mess, and it should fizz.
Oh, fizzle.
Because you know it's fresh and it's active when it fizzes like that. Whereas baking powder is a compound mixture. So it's got baking soda in it, and it's also got an acid in it, and a starch filler. And then it's our baking powder is double-acting baking powder.
Double-acting?
So what happens is as you mix the liquid into your batter or your cake or whatever, it activates initially, and then it activates again when it goes into the oven. So it needs heat to activate it the second time.
Okay. Wait, are you going to do the same thing now with that?
It doesn't work necessarily with the vinegar. You need boiling water. So if you add boiling water to that
Yes.
and it fizzes, it's fresh and you can
But you
use
see,
it.
you need to do it just so that we can show everyone at home that it's not the same thing. This is what experiments
Just so
are
you
all
can do
about.
an experiment.
It might fizz a little. It's got some bicarb
Oh,
in
it,
it.
it does.
little bit.
I just love this.
Yeah, but there we go. It is fizzing.
It's like a whole science experiment right in front of your
A
very
very
eyes.
messy science experiment.
But I love it. I love it.
Fun.
That baking is messy. Okay. All right. So there you have it. We are answering all of your baking-related questions in today's Culinary Hotline Bling. Sing, sing, sing.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Call us on your cell phone.
Culinary Hotline Bling.
That
Welcome
can
back to
really
it. It is the Culinary Hotline Bling. Sing, sing, sing. We're hanging out with baker Angie Boyd and cake addict and self-taught baker Lemise Abrams, who joined us as our foodie panel this morning to answer all things related to baking. All of your burning questions, send them through to us on our social media platforms and we'll get them answered. So, baking. Baking equals bread. Bread equals baking. It's the basics of all things. And when you go to any bakery, you're likely to find sour bread. But of course, let's quickly try and understand what gives dough that sour taste that you find in sour bread.
So a sourdough is obviously made with a sourdough starter, which is a very natural thing. It's a natural ferment. So it's fermented flour and water, called a starter, called a sourdough starter. And it's just the fermentation of it. So anything that's fermented is really good for digestion.
Yes.
So it's the lactobacillic acid in it, and that gives it that sour flavour. So if you think of yogurt or any pickle, anything that's been fermented, it's got a sour taste to it. And it's the same applies with your sourdough starter.
Okay, excellent.
So that's the flavour.
And so when it comes to making that starter dough, which is where everything begins before it ferments, how do you make a basic starter dough that will allow you to make all these various kinds of bread?
It's actually really simple.
Okay.
You just need 3 ingredients: your wheat cake flour, your cake flour, and your water. So
Just like that?
basically, we'll just add it into your bowl.
So wheat cake flour?
So let me just add to that, if that's okay.
Yeah, please, go ahead.
And then
So
just add the
what
water.
add the water. What we're looking at is preferably using an unbleached stone ground flour because it's got natural yeasts in it already. And that's what we're looking for. This thing's got to grow. It's a live organism. So it needs to grow and ferment. And it's only going to do that if there's some natural yeast attached to that. So use your stone ground unbleached flour and then also use mineral water because our tap water's got quite a lot of chlorine in it.
Oh, okay.
So that's also going to sort of stop it from growing. So use mineral water so that it can grow more naturally.
Yeah. This feels like the very beginnings of you know that first time when you pull the tag off a Tamagotchi and then it's alive. Now you've got to nurse it
it's alive.
and take care of it because it is alive. Okay. You can SMS the keyword bread to 33728 to get the ingredients list so you can make your own starter dough at home. So when that's what happens. You put it in a
this
jar.
is what happened. Yeah, and this
Close
is the
it up.
reaction. Yeah.
And it grows. It takes quite a while. It's a bit of a process. So you've got to feel the love for this thing. So if you bake bread on a regular basis, it's worth it. I had a starter that was growing very nicely, and then I neglected it, much like you neglect a plant, not a child. A plant. And it died.
What do you mean it died? That's making me sad. What, your starter died. Wait. So where did you store it first of all?
Well, you keep it outside. So
Okay.
in a lovely big jar like this, because what happens is it'll bubble up and grow. And then you've got to feed it every day. It's like a plant or a child or a dog.
Feed it?
You feed it with the same process again.
Ingredients.
So exactly the same again
So
every
you
day.
add some more
Yes.
cake flour to it, some more, what was that, the
Just normal cake
Plain
flour.
cake flour and
that
the
was
ground.
whole wheat
whole
or
wheat
rye.
flour.
every now and then,
Yeah.
just every day, give it.
Every day, give it
some.
something. And obviously you're going to end up with 12 litres of the stuff. So every day, if you don't want to have too much, take some out and bake with
replace
it,
it.
and then replace it
With a fresh one.
with a fresh one.
That is completely blowing my mind right now. I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, hi, little one. Hello. It's incredible. SMS bread to 33728. That's why baking is a science. It involves live organisms that feed into the baking process and result in the deliciousness that everyone enjoys at the end of the day. We'll be back again with the Culinary Hotline Bling. She's sleeping.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Call us on your cell phone.
Culinary Hotline Bling.
That
The
can
Culinary
only mean
Hotline Bling. Sing. Back again playing on your screens with Angie Boyd and Lamise Abrams. And today it's all about the baking. So earlier on we showed you the basics of baking a bread and what you need to make in terms of a starter dough like this. And then during the break I was asking Angie, so how does this all fit into it? So this would replace the yeast element in you making a bread. So you keep it alive, you feed it every day, and then whenever you decide to make a bread, this would replace the yeast because it is that living organism.
It is its own yeast.
Excellent. But now, ladies, desserts. We are all about that. So when it comes to desserts, blind baking is something that's mentioned in quite a few recipes. So let's talk first about what blind baking is and perhaps your best suggested method of blind baking.
Do you want me to take that? Okay, blind baking it sounds a bit weird. It's not closing your eyes and putting it in the oven. It is really just pre-baking a pastry shell. So you would have your pastry lined into your tin, either the little ones or a big one. So you'd line your pastry, chill it. Very importantly is to chill it so that your pastry is nice and cold before it bakes. And then you take a piece of non-stick baking paper and pop that over the pastry. So it's
the pastry's at the bottom here.
Yeah, it's just like a little... Yeah,
Chilled.
we'll pretend... Can you see the
There
pastry?
it is.
There?
Oh,
It's
yeah,
lovely.
of course. Yes.
And then we take these things called sugar beans, dried sugar beans, or any dried bean.
Okay.
You can use rice as well, but the rice sometimes goes
stuck.
underneath and then it gets stuck in the pastry and you can't get it out.
Okay. Could you use like lentil maybe?
You can use lentils.
Yeah.
Just don't use popcorn.
Of course not.
Okay.
Yes.
So use anything like this, and it just weights it down. So this is a barrier between the pastry and the beans. This weights it down. You put it into the oven at about 150. Pastry bakes fairly low temperature, 150, 160. And that will take the place of the filling so that the pastry shell can bake without puffing up and rising.
And it gets a lovely shape.
It keeps its shape. And then you're going to have a baked pastry shell that's either then going to be rebaked with, say, a liquid filling, or you're going to put your filling that's going to set in the fridge into that.
Okay, fantastic. And of course, it being pre-blind baked means it forms a layer so that whatever liquid that you put in doesn't necessarily seep through when it bakes.
Very good.
Oh my gosh, I understood
Quite
that.
good at this.
It's because of you. You explained it so well. It just all makes sense. Okay, so now that you want to entertain friends, perhaps let's suggest a dessert recipe that is minimal fuss but very delicious.
Okay.
An easy one. What do you have, Louise?
An easy to go to recipe is definitely a chocolate fondant.
Oh,
So
sounds fancy.
yes, it does. And it'll definitely impress all your guests. So this is just chocolate and butter that has been melted over a bain-marie. And all you have to do is add your eggs to this lovely chocolate.
And this is while the
butter
chocolate
mixture.
is warm, so they won't scramble.
No. 'Cause that's why you need to keep whisking.
Oh, okay, good.
Okay, so just whisk
Not
that
quite
up.
hot enough.
Not quite hot enough. Just
Yeah.
All right.
Then add your essence.
Vanilla essence
That
over
vanilla
there.
that Lamise was talking about earlier just
Yes, the one that you need to have in your pantry.
Yes.
makes all the difference.
And sugar. And then this recipe is a little bit different because this one uses corn flour instead of cake flour.
Okay, and why the difference?
This actually gives it a lighter texture. And you will be able to find the recipe online.
Absolutely.
And it makes it gluten-free, so those
Yes.
people who can't have gluten
Yes.
can have this pudding.
Definitely.
Ah, wonderful. All right, so SMS the keyword dessert to 33728, and we will do the necessary so your phone goes wing wing, and then your guests will be like, oh.
And then this is just a ramekin that we greased it with some butter and some cocoa powder.
Okay, oh yes.
And
So
this
that's
is
some
our
brown butter you
mixture
got going
done.
on.
And Angie, you can do the honors.
Thank you. So this is the done mixture.
Yes.
And
We'll
you just pour
Nice
it
and
in
thick.
there.
or spoon it in,
Yes.
and you can
Yeah.
fill it sort of 3/4. It's going
Yes.
to rise a little bit. And what we used to do in the restaurants is actually put this into the fridge. So we'd pre-make it and then put all our ramekins in. That's nice, isn't it?
It's good.
Hello.
That's good.
Hello, chocolate, my old friend.
Into the fridge so that it goes actually quite solid. Then when you put it into the oven, the idea with this fondant is that it's got a liquid center.
Yes.
So you're going to turn it out and then break it open, and then all that chocolate
best.
oozes out, which is really the uncooked mixture. It just oozes out. So I would suggest with this is that you make a big batch and then have a couple to practice with, because every oven is different.
Yes.
Ah, of course, your
And you
temperature,
want to-
180 in one oven isn't 180
Exactly.
in another oven,
Yes.
right? And then, of course, oh gosh, then maybe a spoon.
Have some more.
I will. A spoon of vanilla ice cream on top, just to kind of melt
Yes.
over it. Maybe just a drizzling of custard, if you will.
Some raspberries.
Ooh, this is the content I signed up for. This is really good. Amazing stuff. Check it out. SMS the keyword dessert to 33728. Man, I just need to I know I'm dipping, but I have to.
Oh. Double dip.
Why
Triple
not?
dip.
Oh, yes. Culinary Hotline Bling. Sing.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Call us on your cell phone.
Culinary Hotline Bling.
That can
Welcome back to your
only
Feel Good
mean-
Breakfast Show. It is time again for the Culinary Hotline Bling. Sing. It's been about baking and desserts today with Angie Boyd and Lemise Abrams. And a question that came through from one of our viewers, Bruce Schefferman on Facebook, asked about honeycomb and what you can add to it. Honeycomb, as a dessert, what can you add to it?
Well, I mean, you can add anything you like to it. I don't know if I'd really want to add honeycomb, anything to the honeycomb because it is what it is and it's so nice on its own. But if you do want to mix it up a little bit, you could add nuts to it. We're going to do one where we show you, you just pour it over the popcorn and then let that whole thing set, and then you've got honeycomb flavoured popcorn.
Excellent.
Break it up into chunks and put it over ice cream, or layer it in glasses. To make a delicious dessert. So, or add it to a granola bar or whatever. So there's all sorts of things. You can just dip it in chocolate. That's also very nice.
Okay. Is that what we have over there? What's bubbling and boiling?
Yes, we are ready to show you what to do. So this is just a little bit of bicarb, which we will add to our melted honeycomb. And you add it once the honeycomb starts to bubble.
And for those that don't know, how do you make honeycomb very quickly?
Okay, so it's caramelized sugar. It's basically caramelized sugar.
Yes.
As soon as it reaches the beautiful caramel color, you take it off the heat, as Lemise has done, and then look how beautiful that is. You add the bicarb, puffs up. It's like a crunchy bar, really. That's the inside
And then
filling.
we just pour this over
Oh, my word.
corn.
Oh, what on earth?
That becomes its own sweet or dessert in a way, confection.
Gosh, that's
Isn't that
beautiful. That's
divine?
beautiful. And then, of course, it's very hot.
Yes,
So you've
don't
got to let
touch
it
it.
cool down for a little bit before you invite the kids to come and have some. And then, how do you serve it then? Do you kind of just crunch it up?
Yes, just chop it up.
Do you want to toss the popcorn in this to
Yeah,
all
you
be
can.
coated? Is that what you do?
Yes, you can do that.
I like what
too.
you're about to do. Just get messy with it. Get messy with it. Don't worry.
I mean, you could also, if it was a slightly taller pot, is just add the popcorn into that.
Yes.
So that it really gets coated in the honeycomb. And then you leave it to set. It takes a little while because it's going to set hard.
Yes.
And then you can take a hammer and bash it up if you want.
Okay, lovely
It
stuff.
sets quite hard.
Okay,
Here we go.
That means you can carry on doing that. The next question that came the next question that came through from Gary Okamp on Facebook, who said, "Is edible gold really gold and okay to eat? Those leafy decorative gold things."
Yes, this one.
Is it okay? Firstly, is it really gold?
No, it's not really gold. I mean, you get different versions of this.
In
But
Dubai,
this-
they have the real gold.
Yes. It's 24 karat gold
It's very
and it's
expensive.
so expensive. So this is the one you'll get in any baking store. It's not real gold, but it is edible and it is safe to eat.
Yes.
But I mean, for me, I would generally just not eat gold, you know? It's not a thing
So
I
even
would
if you
eat.
see the decorative piece on,
Yeah.
you just it's nice to
I
look
mean,
at.
it adds a beautiful finish to any cake.
It does.
But I mean, it's up to you. If you want to eat it, you can.
You
But I
won't
mean,
die.
No, you won't
No,
die.
you're not going to die. You
No.
won't even get sick. You won't
Can I try it
notice
then?
It's not toxic.
It's
so
it's a
fine.
very difficult thing to work with because it's so feather thin.
Yeah.
It's been rolled and rolled and rolled until it's paper thin.
Yeah,
so,
try it, please.
yes, the best thing to do when you are working with it is take a tweezers and
Apply it to
your
your
little
cake.
yes, and then you apply it to slightly. It just sticks
You like how
to.
they-
It looks stunning. That's your look.
Oh my
you got to keep
goodness.
that.
Man, you look. That's how I roll
It's
here
working for you.
on the Culinary Hotline Bling.
Sing, sing.
Beautiful stuff. Okay.
Okay.
It's actually got a bit of a nothing taste to it. I expected
Yeah.
something sweet.
No, doesn't
but we're
taste-
going to let that popcorn and caramel set and the honeycomb set beautifully, and then we'll be serving out to you. Anybody for some popcorn? Yes, maybe? No? All right.
Me.
Listen, keep those questions coming and we'll engage with them again next week. Thank you very much to Lemise and Angie for a beautiful Culinary Hotline Bling. Sing, sing.